Hello, what is going on, guys? Noah Brewer here, back again with another video, and this one is about how to minimize your losses with Facebook ads. Now, as you're scaling, there are ad sets that die out, and a lot of people just let them slip by their fingers, and then they end up losing a bunch of money around the time when the product starts dying out or when the campaign starts dying out. And it's really because they don't keep up with it. They're not checking it, at least once a week, ideally 2 times a week to make sure that the ads that are just dead just get turned off. And this is one thing that I made a bunch of videos on it in the past, but I'm making an update video, and I actually went through a bunch of the campaigns that I'm managing, and I found this one. Now, this campaign is actually pretty good, right? So our average cost per purchase is $19.75. We're only on lifetime, but it's been running for a while. Like, it's getting pretty it's pretty old. So, and you can see that there are actually a lot of ad sets in here. Actually, I don't think you can see it because of me, but there's actually 86 ad sets in this campaign. Some of which were good and they have gotten turned off in time, but there are some here, and I already looked at all this, but there are some here that need to be turned off right now. And I'm just going to go through and show you guys exactly how I do this. So the first thing that I do is up here, and this might be blurred because somebody's name might be right here, but or the store name, sorry. It might be right there, but basically there's a filters button right here, and what you want to do is you want to go under filters and then under ad set delivery and then select active. And what this is going to do is it's going to get rid of all of your inactive ad sets, which is basically going to clear up a lot of space and allow you to focus on only the ones that are currently active. So the first thing that I do is I'm on lifetime, okay? So I'm looking at the cost per purchase here, and our break-even point is about $28. So you can see we have some that are getting pretty close up here at the top, but they're not exactly horrible. And I'm probably going to leave these running unless they're doing bad on these next tests that I'm going to run. So obviously, if you have an ad set that's doing really bad on lifetime, you want to cut it right away, right? Like, you don't need too many there at once. But there's a couple rules that I follow with this. So for each campaign, depending on how bad or good it is, I normally don't kill more than one or two every day. And the reason for this is because I don't want to jerk the ad account too much, right? Like, I'm adding a new ad set every day. I don't want to turn off more than I'm creating. And I want to keep everything running smooth, and I don't want to affect anything. So normally I won't turn off more than two or three per campaign per day. And I'm actually going to only turn off two or three today in this campaign. So I'm doing what I preach, and the reason is because I've been doing this for a long time, and I know what happens if you turn off a bunch of ad sets in a campaign. It usually takes all the good ones and makes them die out as well. I don't know why. I don't really care. I just saw it happening over and over again, and I got sick of it. So now I follow the two or three per day rule. But that's the basic rule. All that I'm saying is if you're on lifetime, you organize by cost per website purchase. You should have your column set up like this already. You organize by cost per purchase. If you see any up top that are unprofitable, just turn them off. And again, since we're organizing by cost per purchase, if it doesn't have a purchase, it'll show up here on the bottom, which I hope that I can show you guys in the near future when we do the other tests. So now I know that everything's good on lifetime, right? Like, I'm not going to splurge here. I think everything looks fine. You can see our newer ad sets down here. Not anything too bad. The one up here, obviously, this is probably going to get turned off soon. But I'm not going to turn it off right now because I know that there's ones that are probably worse than this that need to be turned off first. So the next step in my test is I basically come up here to the time range, and I'll click this preset called last 7 days. Now, if you look here, it is not going to include the current day unless you're doing it at like 1 a.m. or something and it's from the day before. So what you want to do is you want to click right there, and you can see the date range, and it says 13th to the 19th. Now, currently it is the 20th, so I actually want to include today because I do not want to turn off an ad set that might have done bad last week, but then today just absolutely blew up and did really good. So what I want to do is I want to click 20 and then 13, and technically this is the last 8 days, but whatever, make a big deal out of it. So this is going to give me a pretty good representation of how this campaign is doing, and I can make some basic examinations from here in the last 8 days, last 7 days, whatever you want to call it, and say which ad sets are probably safe to turn off. And we're going to do this by selecting them. So this one's select. I don't know why that one's selected, but we're still organizing by cost per purchase. And as I said before, if it doesn't have a sale, it'll show up on the bottom. So even though this one spent just as much as these ones, it's still down here on the bottom because it didn't get a single sale. Now, period flat, if your margin is below $30, and if it hasn't made a sale in the last 7 days, that's usually a really good sign that you should just turn that off. And these ones with 1 or 2 sales, the ones with 2 sales I'm not going to turn off because 2 sales is profitable for me. But these guys up here are actually not profitable, but I'm not going to rush and turn them off. There are a few things that I'm actually going to come in here and look at in order to determine whether I want to turn them off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select these 3, and this is actually really weird because if you look at the conversion value on this one, it's only $6. So that one's probably going to end up getting turned off anyways because that's equivalent to, almost no sales, but I'm still going to show you this test anyways. So basically the next thing that you want to do is instead of doing the last 7 days, I want to do the last 14 days, and this will switch up the numbers a little bit, right? So again, it's not going to include today, so I just come in here and go ahead and do that. And now it's going to include today. So we can see that we have some ad sets that are actually not profitable in the past 7 days, but they are profitable in the last 14 days or 15 days, whatever you want to call it. So I'm actually able to use this as a reference to whether I should turn it off or not. Now, as I said, I try not to turn off more than 2 or 3 per campaign, depending on how it is. And honestly, this campaign is not that bad. You can see that it's kind of getting worse as time goes on, but we're still adding to it. We're still finding winners. So I'm not just going to rush in and turn everything off like, oh, this is unprofitable, this is unprofitable. I'm not going to do that. But now what I am going to do is I'm going to unselect this one because I actually think that this has done really good over the past 14 days that I think I'm going to turn it off. Even though this was the one that only had a $5 conversion value, I'm still going to leave it on because I think it might have the capability of coming back next week and making us more money. And of course, next week I'm going to come back into this campaign and repeat this process over again. So if it doesn't, not really the biggest deal because I'm going to catch it. I'm not going to sleep on it. This isn't something that you do once a month. This is something that should be a consistent action for you where you come in here and you study how your ads are doing. So now that I have these 2 selected, I am basically going to choose the worst one out of the 2 because I already decided that I want to leave that 10% on. So I'm just going to go back to the last 7 days or last 8 days, whatever you want to call it. And I'm just going to turn off the worst one. Now, which one is the worst one? In my opinion, it would be the 0.74 ROAS one right here. So the cost per purchase is higher on this one, but it looks like they actually might have bought in 2, or maybe they didn't use a coupon code, or maybe they bought more than 1. But this is essentially the metric that I do. So I'm just going to go ahead and turn that one off because we don't really need it. It's not producing money. It wasn't even really that good over the last 14 days. Never mind the last 7 days, it wasn't even making money. But Noah, look at this. We have 2 unprofitable ad sets and one of them is horrible. Why am I leaving them on? Because if you check the last 14 days, they actually did not do that bad. I mean, this one was right? But this one, the 10% over here, this one was actually really good. So I'm leaving it on for another week to see if it'll get good again. Maybe it's just having a bad week. That type of stuff happens. But at the same time, it's important for you to keep on top of your game. And one thing for you to know is I do not check lower than the last 7 days. Unless you're doing really, really high budgets, like above $50 a day, you probably shouldn't be either. And the reason is because ads, in my opinion, they optimize best over 7 days or over a week. They can go 4 days without making a sale, and then the next day just make like 4 sales. So it just averages out to 1 sale a day. And this is exactly why I don't look on lower than last 7 days. And it's also why I look on last 14 days, because sometimes it'll have a bad week and then it'll have a really good week. These are all perfectly normal traits for ad sets. That's basically how I analyze a campaign and minimize my Facebook ad losses as I'm scaling. But, as for this video, that's pretty much it. If you got good value out of it, drop a like, subscribe, turn notifications on, whatever. I really appreciate that if you do. But as for this video, I'm Noah Brewer, and I'm out. Peace.